Each Pokemon can hold one item at a time. They have a variety of useful effects, but what if we could double dip? What's up, fellas? I'm Matt, and today we're gonna see what the game would be like if you could have two health items at the same time. We'll talk about what pairs of items would work well together, and what it would all mean as far as balancing goes. Alright, let's get started.
What's up? I'm Elias, and there are some simple but effective ways to cause some chaos. The Choice Band, Choice Specs, and Choice Scarf each multiply a stat by 1.5, but they lock you into the first move you choose until you switch out. Combining two choice items would be a ridiculously strong tool. In fact, we've kind of seen such a thing in action already.
Galarian Darmanitan has a signature ability in the form of Guerrilla Tactics. It has the same effect as the Choice Band, which makes this guy a really strong Pokemon, but you can also hold a choice item on top of that. You can pick a Choice Band to send your damage output into the stratosphere, or a Choice Scarf for a speed boost. Since your ability is already locking you into one move, the choice item won't add any drawbacks.
By combining Guerrilla Tactics with the Choice Band, all your physical moves deal 2.25 times more damage than usual. If you go for a Choice Scarf instead, you get a free Dragon Dance boost just by existing. Darmanitan is ridiculously overpowered, to the point where it was banned from Gen 8 OU. It's no slouch in the Ubers tier either. It's an A- ranked Pokemon in the viability rankings, which is higher than even most of the box legendaries.
Good morning, fellas. We are recording this video on February 2nd. Elias realized it was Groundhog Day right before we started, and he asked me whether Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow. Why would I know that?
You're not a devout follower of Punxsutawney Phil?
But in a world where you can hold two items, nearly every Pokemon would have access to those tools. Imagine if Kyogre could hold two pairs of Choice Specs. It's already one of the strongest Pokemon in the game, thanks to its high special attack, its ability Drizzle, and its access to high power moves like Water Spout and Origin Pulse. If it could hold two items, everything within a 100-mile radius would drown. You could also pair a Choice Scarf with one of the other items to give yourself a power and speed boost at the same time.
As for Darmanitan itself, it would be able to stack Guerrilla Tactics with two Choice Bands and hit ridiculously hard. That would more than triple its damage output, which is incredibly scary when it has 140 base attack already. It could probably kill you just by thinking about Icicle Crash, and it has a ton of other coverage moves to choose from.
Hey Elias, I'm thinking of Icicle Crash. Do you feel any injuries coming on?
No.
Aw, man.
I am going skiing in March though, so maybe. There
are many other items you could feasibly run two copies of, especially when their drawbacks aren't numerical in nature. The Assault Vest is another great example. It boosts your special defense by 50%, but it blocks you from using status moves. It's a good item for some Pokemon, because you're able to take more hits, but the drawback limits your moveset options. Since you can't use status moves, reliable healing options like Recover and Roost would be off the table. You also can't run a boosting move like Nasty Plot or Dragon Dance to boost the attacking moves you do know. I humbly request that you don't get injured. Thanks.
Oh, we'll see about that. My crazy uncle is probably going to shove me down the double blacks again.
What do you mean again?
Don't worry about it. But if your Pokemon is already holding an Assault Vest, a second one would give you another special defense boost with no additional drawbacks. That would effectively multiply the stat by 2.25. Double Assault Vest would be a solid defensive tool, but a second item slot would also open up a billion more offensive options.
Heavy-duty boots were added in Gen 8, and they quickly became one of the best items in the game, at least as far as competitive singles are concerned. Wearing boots makes you immune to entry hazards, which has a metric ton of use cases. Rock-weak Pokemon have the most obvious synergy with boots, because they'll eliminate Stealth Rock damage.
Weavile is a strong offensive Pokemon, but it takes 25% of its max health from Stealth Rock. That means if you switch it in and out multiple times, it'll get heavily worn down by hazard damage. Heavy-duty boots massively improved our boy's longevity, but you have to make a choice. Do you boost your damage output with a Choice Band or Life Orb, or do you go for the hazard immunity?
If you could hold two items at once, Weavile could do both at the same time. You could capitalize on its strong offensive properties, while also patching up one of its most notable weaknesses. Volcarona is a threatening Pokemon too, but before the advent of rocks, it was held back by its 4x weakness. Losing half your health for stepping on Stealth Rock is... well, let's just say it's not great. Being able to hold a second item on top of boots would be really helpful for Pokemon like these. Hello Elias, by any chance would you like a 4x4x6 cuboid with one piece missing?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay. I just bought another one.
But heavy-duty boots use cases aren't just limited to rock-weak Pokemon. Anything that switches in and out a lot will get good mileage out of boots. Pivoting moves are some of the best in the game. U-turn, flip turn, and volt switch let you do damage and switch at the same time, and teleport has negative priority, which makes switching in your next Pokemon safer. But thanks to entry hazards, you can't just spam these moves for a billion years. You can if you're just like using two Emolgas.
Emolga is weak to Stealth Rock.
I thought Emolga was flying and so it wasn't damaged by
No, the rocks themselves are floating in the sky.
Okay. Cut that.
No, smile. Extremely loud incorrect buzzer and all that. Since you don't have to worry about rocks or spikes or what have you, shuffling Pokemon in and out over and over and over is much less risky. Meowscarada has a few possible sets in Gen 9 OU, and the main difference is the item you hold. The three most popular choices are Boots, Choice Band, and Choice Scarf. Heavy-duty boots make pivoting in and out with U-turn more effective, the Choice Band accentuates its already solid damage output, and Choice Scarf makes it an effective revenge killer.
If Meowscarada could use 2 of its 3 favorite items at once, it would be a very happy cat. Smiley face, beep. It would become even more versatile. Many defensive Pokemon also appreciate having access to heavy-duty boots, like Alola and Blissey. But when they wear boots, they have to pass on other useful items like leftovers. If they had 2 item slots, bulky Pokemon would be able to protect themselves from entry hazards and still have access to a billion healing options.
Say hello to Jean Armstrong.
I wish you never showed me that. No thank you, I'm not looking at that anymore.
Well, what voice would you give that guy?
Goodbye. I'm not even gonna dignify that with an answer.
On top of leftovers, many of these Pokemon can also learn some sort of recovery move, and some of them have regenerators and ability. The Slow Twins can't learn Teleport anymore in Gen 9, but that move made them great pivots in Gen 8. They would hold Boots to switch in without taking hazard damage, then they could heal with Regenerator while they teleport away. Yeah, my voice for this guy is just a really, really bad falsetto French accent.
That's kind of what I thought. Not only that, but they can also learn the reliable healing move Slack Off as well. So if Slowbro and Slowking could have 2 items, they'd be able to hold leftovers on top of Boots, giving them yet another way to heal. Of course, if you really wanted to, you could just hold 2 servings of leftovers to double the healing instead. But we'd imagine that Boots plus leftovers would be a common pair of items. Heavy-duty Boots pair well with many different archetypes, so they'd probably be paired with a wide variety of items. Slowking doesn't learn Teleport anymore, but it does get Chilly Reception, which functions similarly thanks to its low speed.
If you asked me out of the blue what the Payapa Berry did, I probably couldn't tell you. Hey Elias, what does the Payapa Berry do?
I don't know.
You failed. This bad boy's one of 17 weakness berries. If you get hit by a super effective psychic type move, you lead the Payapa Berry and take half the damage. There's a weakness berry for every type aside from normal, which isn't super effective against anything. But there's a similar item called the Chillin' Berry, which halves damage from any normal type hit. The others require a super effective hit to work, so the Payapa Berry only works on poison and fighting type Pokemon.
Weakness berries aren't the most common thing in the universe, but they do pop up every now and then. Pokemon like Dragonite and Garchomp are 4 times weak to ice, so they sometimes hold a Yacha Berry to ensure they don't freeze to death from a stray ice beam.
One other tidbit, Garchomp can learn Ice Fang. I can only imagine that every once in a while it accidentally bites its own tongue and faints.
If they could hold 2 items, you could go for 2 Yacha Berries to protect yourself from a second ice move. What if they both activate on the first one?
You see, we wouldn't know how 2 weakness berries would work because we're making up mechanics.
Sounds like you're just making stuff up as you go.
Wait, this is the whole point of the video, Elias. We are making stuff up. The video title starts with what if. Most Pokemon have more than one weakness though. Water types are weak to grass and electric, but you could address both of those if you could hold 2 items. You could pick a Rindo Berry for grass moves and a Wakan Berry for electric moves. You could get some mileage out of weakness berries, but it probably wouldn't be as powerful as the other stuff we've talked about today, and it's definitely not as exciting or flashy.
Stacking 2 choice items would be a great combo, but stacking 2 life orbs, not so much. This item boosts your attack by a factor of 1.3, but every attacking move costs 10% of your max health. If you hold 2 orbs, your moves would be 69% stronger, but in exchange you'd lose 1/5 of your health whenever you attack, which we don't think would be sustainable. 1 life orb already limits your longevity quite a bit, and unlike the choice items, a second orb would come with even worse drawbacks.
You call yourself a Pokemon fan, and you don't know what the flippin' Payapa Berry does, or the Michael Berry.
Oh, so you're a Pokemon fan? Name every Pokemon in descending order of weight.
Mega Evolutions were a staple of Gen 6 and 7 battles. Most competitive teams had one, because so many of them had massive upsides. But using Megas did come with one notable drawback. The Mega Stone takes up your item slot, which means you can't pick something else to hold. Regular Alakazam has seen success with several different items, like the Focus Sash, Life Orb, and Choice Specs. But if you want to use the Mega, you have to hold the Alakazite. Eternamax, Eternidus, Cosmoem, I don't know, Groudon. Am I on the ball whatsoever here?
I don't know.
Nope.
I bet it'd get pretty pretty hard when you get towards the birds.
I failed right off the bat. Eternamax Eternatus doesn't have a weight listed.
Adding a second item slot would alleviate that drawback though. Alakazam would be able to hold its stone to Mega Evolve alongside another item of its choice. Mega Medicham and Mawile are already scary, but they'd be on a whole nother level if they could use a choice band. Bulky Megas like Slowbro and Audino could hold leftovers to stick around even longer. The Lottie twins could hold Soul Dew on top of their Mega Stones. That would be kind of wild if Gen 6 had 2 item slots, because that was before Soul Dew got nerfed.
Of course, the discussion of Mega Stones comes with an absolutely massive asterisk. Rayquaza doesn't need a stone to Mega Evolve. All you need is its signature move, Dragon Ascent. That's a fighting type clone of Close Combat, so Rayquaza doesn't mind running that move at all. Since Mega Rayquaza didn't need a stone, it could hold anything it wanted to. Not only was it flexible in that sense, but it also had a great ability and completely bonkers stats. If Mega Rayquaza could hold a second item, there would be protests in the streets.
The Groundhog, who has lived for like 60 years, he's gonna outlive us all.
Okay, good for him. I probably should see the movie Groundhog Day. AMC is airing Groundhog Day 4 times today.
There are a lot of mechanics that would have to be reworked if Game Freak added a second item slot. Like, how would knockoff work? Would it get rid of everything you're holding, or just one item at a time? If it still got rid of just one item, how would the game decide which one to remove? Would Unburden activate when you lose just one item, or would you have to get rid of both of them to get the speed boost? In the latter case, would Unburden Pokemon even want to use this ability when everything around them is holding 2 items and dealing a billion damage? Who knows?
Adding another item slot would introduce millions of questions for the developers. And what's the reward for answering these questions? Complete and utter chaos. To cut a long story short, adding a second item would be an unmitigated disaster. Balancing a game like Pokemon is already difficult, but it'd be borderline impossible if Chi-Yu could hold 2 pairs of choice specs. We doubt the Game Freak would ever explore an idea like this, because the items are balanced around the fact that you can only have one.
The possibilities with 2 item slots are virtually endless. Unevolved Pokemon could pair Eviolite with Boots, Leftovers, or even a second Eviolite, boost their defenses to absolutely absurd levels. Ground weak Pokemon could pair the air balloon with an item that'll be more useful in the long term, or just hold 2 balloons for extra earthquake insurance. This next one wouldn't be the greatest choice, but 2 scope lenses would raise your critical hit ratio. I just bit my tongue. But 2 scope lenses would raise your critical hit ratio to 50%. We could go on for a million years, but you get the idea. Leave a comment with any other combinations you can think of.
Elias used Ice Fang on himself.
It's a good thing I'm not weak to ice.
What types are you weak to, Elias?
Probably fighting type.
Mike Tyson's gonna show up at your door in a second, so we can test that theory. There is one saving grace as far as balancing goes. As far as competitive play goes, stacking 2 copies of the same item would only be allowed in unofficial metagames. That's because the official format VGC has an item clause. That prevents you from having multiple copies of the same item on your team. If you have a booster energy on your Flutter main, you'd have to pick something else for Giraffe Raikou. I mean Giraffe Raikou. I mean Giraffe Raikou. I mean Giraffe Raikou. Most teams would wind up with 12 different held items. Is anybody watching Groundhog Day 15 times today?
Me.
Oh.
Anyways, can we continue reading?
What, so you can go and watch Groundhog Day a 3rd time?
You know what an interesting phrase is?
What?
Long cut. I don't know, like if you're I was playing Mario Kart last night with some guys, so it was on my mind, I guess.
I'm sorry, what? Were you driving through the grass without a mushroom?
I'm not good at the game. I don't own a Switch.
Hello, Elias. When the Switch 2 comes out, there will be a mysterious package at your door.
Looking forward to it.
It's a Switch 2.
Never mind.
Oh, wow.
I was hoping it would be a copy of Pokemon Platinum.
Well, that's all we got for today. Leave a comment about Skiddo. If you've been enjoying our videos, subscribe to MEPlaysGames, and consider becoming a channel member. It costs as little as 99 cents a month, and you'll get to watch these videos early as well as deleted scenes. And as always, shoutouts to our existing members. We'll see you all next time. Good night, fellas. Sleep well.